What do, buddies? Don't mind me, how I am with my leftover makeup, because I don't care. That I'm on my way down to see my dad. They have to transfer him to a Pittsburgh hospital, Allegheny General, because the hospital he's in can't do like brain biopsy stuff. So I'm taking him down his Tiger Balm for his feet, and taking him down some stuff and hanging out with him. But yeah, I was really trying not to beat myself up or anything, you know, whenever we all just thought this was a stroke. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, when we were arguing, and I said, like, dude, I've made like 350 videos trying to help. I'm sitting there going, well, maybe I should have led with the fact that a lot of them are shorts and concert videos, and there's probably only 40 of them that really count for anything. You know, maybe I should have led with that, and instead of giving a goddamn stroke, you know. I'm like, but, it's fine. So about work yesterday, if you guys knew the place that I'm working in, you would totally understand why this is hell and I am in my own personal one. It's fucking hilarious. I don't have my swear jar. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever. It's fine. If anybody has seen the movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds, that is exactly what I'm talking about. That every single movie is real life in some way, shape, form, reality, here, density, whatever. The movie Waiting is literally the exact typecasting for restaurant workers. The dishwashers are young and they're all fucked up on drugs. The cooks are not much better. The servers are not much better. The cooks and the dishwashers hit on the servers and bartenders. It's literally, those are the kinds of people who are actually working in bars and restaurants. And, everybody I have ever worked with is like, you are literally the black-haired chick from that movie. And I'm like, I know. Like, I am so professional and so good with customers, and then I turn around, I go through the kitchen, and I'm like, these motherfucking pieces of shit. Like, literally. Except that's how every server and bartender actually really acts, pretty much. I mean, even in more expensive restaurants, it's like the same. I mean, these people, oh, my plates, I'm like, what the hell's back here? These people give me a run for my money. I mean, as soon as I walked into that place, I was like, I'm gonna fit in great here. These people are wild. I mean, mouths like sailors, because they're sick of the bullshit. And they're down to earth and whatever their soul is made of stuff, you know. So I got walking into work yesterday, and, you know, it's hilarious. The place I'm working is a big company kind of restaurant, and it has major Catholic undertones, and there's Catholic shit everywhere because of where it started and the history behind this shit. It probably started like 80 years ago or something like that. And whenever I was doing my interview, I'm like walking around the place, and I'm just like this is gonna be so fun. Like, I think it's hilarious. And there's pictures everywhere, art everywhere, and I love it because, for example, last night when I got into work, you know me, like, I don't know shit yet. I have been distracted. I briefly looked over the menu, but my computer of mind wasn't ready to accept the input of that bullshit. But I worked at a company before who is like a sister company of this branch company. And kind of like the Balenciaga trickle down effect. Like, who owns all of those companies? Who's the parent? And so I worked for a sister company before, and there's a good bit of the shit on the menu that is similar enough, same ingredients, different thing, and it's the same procedures and stuff. So I'm like faking it till I make it. I walk in and the GM's there, and she's like, how's your dad? I'm like, it's all right, you know, he's gonna be fine, blah blah blah. And she goes, so do you feel comfortable on the floor? Like, we had somebody call off, and I've got so much confidence in you. Like, there's a 25 top coming in, and blah, 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 blah. Like, do you feel prepared? I'm like, yeah, like, I'm broke. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Like, this, that, like, I know this, that. Like, I'm fine, because once you've been doing this shit for so long, you should just be thrown on the floor of anywhere you work so that you can figure it out yourself real quick. Like, if you're good with customers, they will literally, if you're honest and they're not total assholes, it usually goes really well. I didn't even have to be honest. I'm like killing it out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm great. And but the pictures and the artwork that surround Catholicism have very common themes that actually really bother people, and people are starting to notice. For example, in this one area, it's all Pope shit. It's all Catholic, like this whole hunk. And there's naked children everywhere, like little naked cherubs, little naked babies and stuff like that. And then there's a picture, and it's like a vintage picture. All of these pictures are vintage, and nobody ever noticed them before because the sleep spell is breaking. And there are pictures on the walls that have been acceptable as hell, obviously, of women sitting there staring at the crotches of naked children sculptures. And it's hilarious, and I'm so glad that I walked into a place like this, because, you know, some people are down with the sickness, you know. If I gotta deal with a bunch of freaking Catholics and a bunch of people who just don't even notice that shit, like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, cool. I'm not starting no shit with anybody. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm just working. And but there, even yesterday, literally yesterday, it was Halloween, and the party of 25 was like, I think they were like some friggin' Latin, they were like a Latin soccer team or some shit. Like, it was crazy. These boys are in there like, what the fuck? Like, what is up with these pictures? Like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of pretty weird, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm gonna have so much fun with the people who are waking up, who come down there, planting the seeds. And I I can't wait. I literally cannot wait to watch the fall of the Abrahamic branch for this shit. I really can't. I can't wait to watch in my lifetime everybody realize who the real bad guys are. And the fact that it doesn't matter, you know, I hammer on the Abrahamic branch, obviously, but, you know, the guy I'm talking to, I'll just call him Guy from now on. Give him a name. And we'll call him Guy, because he is Ryan Reynolds, yet again, Guy, in the movie Free Guy. And so are you if you are not spiritually awake. But, yeah, he and I have had a lot of conversations, and I've told this dude so much shit. I explained to him the Indigos. We're listening to Ronnie Radke. We're listening to all of these bands, and I'm like, Ronnie Radke, that's my homie. That is an Indigo 3, Life Path 3, Sagittarius, but I'm like, I told him, I'm like, you know, a lot of these people who have major mental issues need nothing more than a shamanic healing, or to know what it feels like to have their pineal glands activated and be able to remember and be able to look at the world for what it truly is. And I told him that I was an Indigo type 3, and he's like, yeah, but you're not like bipolar, like you're not like that. And I'm like, because you know me as you're knowing me, you're getting to know me as a normal person. Like, when I'm not on this YouTube channel, guys, I'm literally a fucking normal person. Like, I literally run around and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not a normal person because I go out of my way to be really nice to people, and I always have. And, I'm like, the difference between myself and a lot of other people is that I know. I now know. And before I knew, I was not that bad either. It's the not knowing. And a lot of times with Indigo 3s, and I don't know why so many people are in denial about it. Literally, like, this freaking Voyager's asshole I was talking to, out of, the Christos Avatar chats and stuff, will be like, you know, I think I'm fallen, I can't connect with my oversoul. I've seen it a lot, where people are just, like, terrified. The ones that know about all of this shit, right, are terrified. Even after knowing all of these things are going on, they are terrified to know whether or not they are an Indigo type 3. Nobody wants to be an Indigo type 3. I think that Indigo 3s are like Heyokas. They are literally the most, in my opinion, maybe I'm being biased, I think that Indigo type 3s are the most powerful players on this board. And maybe, you know, not everybody's going to start YouTube channels, obviously, coming out Indigo 3. I'm telling you what, anybody who knows me, from my hometown and stuff, you see me coming out of the Indigo 3 closet, you see me coming out of the spiritually sleeping closet, right? Well, why don't you guys realize that I've pretty much embarrassed myself so much more than you could telling your parents that you're gay finally, you know? I know so many closeted Catholics. I know so many closeted Christians and fakers. People are faking life and they don't realize why. They don't want to disappoint their parents or risk giving them strokes and stuff, which I understand. But, come out of the fucking closet. Literally, who cares? Do whatever you want. Like, quit pretending. I know a really shitty Catholic who has a beautiful fiance, runs around doing a bunch of coke, cheating on her with men, driving around with fake wieners in their trunks so that when they go to bonfires with their buddies, they can have rail fests. But if this guy, if one of his 2 sons would ever grow up and go, hey dad, I'm gay, he would probably beat the fuck out of them because he was raised in a racist, hateful Catholic home with money. And too many repeating decimals here, guys. Way too many repeating decimals. Too many Christians. Too many people out here pretending like they know what's going on. Following the same shitty ass paths. And it's because you can't look in a mirror. Or it's because the only mirror that you're looking in is the one when you're looking down snorting your fucking lines. I have done me some drugs. I know what I'm looking at. And yeah, I am probably about a mile away from the hospital one, so I'm gonna go. I just wanted to try to stay positive and talk about my first night on the floor, winging my life like I wing my eyeliner, and get a little jab in about the Catholics while I'm at it because of the Catholic undertones. Literally, at first I was like, maybe this place is jinxing me. Like, maybe this place is friggin' jinxing me a little bit. That somebody like me would walk into a place like this and, you know, it's just a job. It's just the artwork on the walls. And, it's not a Catholic place. It's just Catholic shit everywhere because of where it started. None of the employees give a shit. All of the employees are walking around going, have you actually checked through ancient history? Literally. The most hopeful, the closest to waking up, are the servers and bartenders who have been in agreement for my almost 2 decades in restaurants and bars that it is so fucked up what the Catholics do when they go out together. And I'm down with it. I'm here for it. I can't wait to just watch. Like, I love people watching now. And yeah, like, the people who come in there and start talking about shit, it's just kind of like, yeah, did you ever check out them ancient Sumerian tablets? Oh shit, real quick, because I brought that up. Parent-teacher conferences, it went fine. The school psychologist wasn't involved, so that made it go better. But blah 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 blah, I'm talking to these people, I'm like, we're in a simulation, blah 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 blah. My 7th grade history teacher, Mr. B, is my kids and was my older son's. He's still the history teacher. And all of these other teachers, I know them. And we're all bullshitting, and I'm like, hey guys, I have a mental health channel / spirituality channel / what's the actual difference if we're in a simulation. Is the earth flat? Is it round? Who gives a shit? It's a simulation. Like, literally. And there is actually, there is a lot of information out there. A lot of mathematics on planes flying and all of these things. I'm gonna laugh, that's all. I think the world's round. But I will laugh very, very, very hard if it's flat. I don't care. I mean, you just gotta get to points where it's just like, I don't give a shit about that. It's not worth my time. So, Mr. B, he goes, okay, my turn. He says, so, you know, here's what I have to say about Gavin. He goes, take this test for example. He goes, here's the first page. He goes, he almost nailed it. You know, he messed up a couple at the end there, no problem. And then he flips the page over and he goes, and then here's where the I don't give a fuck happened. And it's like 2 pages where he was just like, B, D, F, G, B, D, F, G, like everything. He missed everything. He was just like, I don't give a shit about this. I'm guessing. And I'm like, Mr. B, it's been probably 13, 14 years since I was in 7th grade. I don't know, I'm guessing. Since I've taken your tests. I said, this looks like exactly the same test that I took for you. And he was like, well, yeah, I mean, I've just been printing them off. And I'm like, so you are printing off the same tests for like 14 years, but there's been a lot of myth busting going on throughout ancient history. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, history's my new favorite subject. And he's like, you didn't like it when you were in school. I said, neither is my kid. Maybe one day, maybe he will. And he said, the problem with history is this shit is so boring because you're not teaching the right history. And he said, this test was about Babylon and Sumerian shit, and it was about good shit. And I said, what do you know about ancient Sumer? And he was like, oh yeah, it was an ancient civilization. I said, yeah, I know. I said, you have a question about the Sumerian tablets here. I said, do you know what the Sumerian tablets are? And he was like, yeah, ancient cuneiform, you know, whatever clay tablets. I said, yeah, I know. The question right there states that. I said, do you know what they are? Or how many there are? He was like, yeah, there's a few. I said, no, there's way more than a few. Way more. I said, there are, I'm pretty sure there's thousands of tablets out there, between civilizations and shit. But I said, did you know that you can go online and drop them into a translator and go read them for yourself? He was like, no. He was like, I didn't know. He's like, well, what do they say? I'm like, well, I mean, you know, do you know where the Abrahamic branch of religion started from? And he was like, no. And I'm like, well, what kind of fucking history teacher are you? You're talking about ancient Sumer, but you don't know that the Abrahamic branch of religion came from ancient Sumer. And you've been a history teacher. You're about to retire. You've been a history teacher for how long? And you are just spitting out Rockefeller indoctrination shit. And I think that this is the problem with our kids. I said, it pretty much busts everything up that everybody believes, which is probably why in your mind you have little creepy crawlies that don't want you to look at this shit and realize it. And he goes, I have been watching some Joe Rogan with Graham Hancock, and I'm like, that's a good start. He's like, yeah, they talk about ancient civilizations before ancient civilizations. I'm like, yeah, well, in a year, I went from knowing absolutely nothing to running through a whole bunch of ancient information about civilizations that were around before all of the other ones that you think you know of. I'm like, why don't you teach them, like, different shit? I said, why are we teaching them Common Core still? And they were like, yeah, that's kind of been a theory. Like, that's kind of been getting kicked around as a theory that, like, maybe that's causing some of the problems with kids. I'm like, well, that's a perfect example of a conspiracy theory that is very true. And the fact that, fucking parking here, man. None of it makes sense. Nothing makes sense. And this is why. And I said, who here has heard of the Schumann resonance? And they're like, never heard of it. What is that? And I'm like, wow, it's pretty interesting. Once you hear about the Schumann resonance and you start paying attention to the Earth's grid and heartbeat and energies and stuff, then can you start to understand what these solar flares alone are doing. Do you guys know anything about these M-class and whatever class solar flares? Do you know anything about light and energy? Because if not, maybe we should work on getting the teachers to collectively realize that you're not very well educated in the real game of life, and what's really important in life would be fascinating for these kids to know. These kids would be getting straight A's if we were talking about the important shit. I tell you, other people's kids kills me. Bunch of curmudgeons. All right, I gotta go. I'm gonna go in here and give my dad his tiger balm. Toodles.